Why did I want to join Conniption Fit? Well, I was in a different band at the time, and we had done a few gigs together, and I didn't really know like their songs that well because I'd only heard it a few times. I knew riffs and stuff that I heard. It was really hard to understand what was going on stage when they were playing because there was a lot of people, a lot of screaming, a lot of really distorted guitars. They're hard to make out. So I didn't know what the music was, but I just knew that they were having a really fun time. Like they looked like they were really enjoying themselves on stage, and the fans loved it. It was one of the most insane fits I've ever seen. And I was like, you know what? That's what I want to do. Like that would be awesome. And things started getting, just going downhill with my band at the time, and we weren't really professionally where I wanted to be with the group. I took it seriously, and the rest of them kind of just, it was a pipe dream. It was just something fun that they did, like a hobby, just make music and play a couple shows, and that's all we were ever going to do. So when the original singer, well, the previous singer, sorry, I should say, before Steve, called me up and asked me to come down to basically try out, but I knew it was going to be like you're in type of thing. And it was really cool. I was like, this is amazing, because this is going to be so fun. So I was able to have my pet band that wasn't really going to do anything, and then have the band that was just fun. And I met all these guys, and we hung out, and became really good friends with Steve, and some of the other members, and I'm glad I made the change. It's really hard to pick one song, that is your favorite in the whole world, that that would be the one song that if that was all you could ever listen to, that'd be the one. It's really hard to pick that one, but if I had to, it would be probably a tie between Opeth, Deliverance, which is 8 minutes, because it's just kind of like the essence of everything that I appreciate about music. It has crazy death metal riffs, and then it has jazzy, clean, pretty classical pieces, and just awesome vocals, all screaming, singing, all that kind of thing. It would be a tie between them and I would say Dream Theater, Change of Seasons. Now technically it's not one song, but it's a concept album that's 5 movements of one song, so I'm going to count that. And it's 28 minutes, and that's some just phenomenal music all the way around. So if I had to choose something on that level, I'd have to pick one of those two. There's many others I'd love to get, to say, but it's just too many. Favorite song in this band, in Conniption Fit, honestly is, it's funny because it's not even done yet. It's a new song we're working on. It's actually the title track of our forthcoming album. It's called The Curse of Your Kind. And yeah, right now, I think that's my favorite song. I loved Redemption. I loved it when I wrote it. I loved Paralysis. They're both beautiful songs. But I really like the direction the new sound is going since we got Jay on drums and, working on the bass player deal and, working with somebody right now that, it seems like it's working out, and I like the direction we're going with that. So, yeah, that'd probably be my favorite song. Ideas for new material, we kind of talked about it with a couple of different members of the bands and got their opinions, and we're kind of all on the level with where we want to be. And I think one of the most recent ideas that we talked about was having an acoustic song on the album. I think that would be amazing. Something we've always talked about, wanting to do an acoustic song live so that we could transition, drop the lights down, and then just have, stools, acoustic guitars, and I think that would be amazing. I would also, me and Brad talked about this, I would also like to kind of, I like the heavy aspect, and that's kind of the other half of the band. That's their forte. I do the more pretty, progressive stuff, and, me and Jay kind of meet up there on the progressive side of that. And I think I would like to do some more, getting back to our roots, with classic rock, like Pink Floyd style, solos and stuff like that. They're just real, they're not complicated, but they just just cuts through your soul. You know what I mean? That I'd like to see some of that kind of stuff, and then maybe incorporate some other instruments into music, saxophone, violin. I think that'd be neat too. My favorite actors, it's really hard to boil it down to just a few. But if I had to capture the essence of all of my favorite acting into one person, I would have to say probably Robin Williams, just based on the fact that he's been basically in the entertainment my entire life since I was born. I'd seen cartoons and stuff like that where he did voiceover work. He does amazing comedy. His stand-up comedy was spectacular. I've seen him live before downtown Playhouse Square. His versatility as an actor was just phenomenal. He could create these characters that were all just so different from each other, and not only the comedy, but the serious roles, very dark roles like Insomnia, where he's like a murderer, and in 1 Hour Photo, where he's this creepy old pervert and stuff. And he's probably the epitome of my favorite actor. I'd say all-time favorite band is probably Pink Floyd. Movies, it's hard to pick one. I'd have to go with something iconic like The Goonies, or say Lost Boys, something like that, something from the 80s that I grew up with. Games, I used to be huge into RPGs, Final Fantasy stuff, all the way through the entire saga, and fighting action games, racing games, whatever, but anymore I just don't have a lot of time for that. So when I do have free time, I find myself playing pool. Me and Jay just went bowling last night for the first time in forever. That was awesome. I ping pong, drinking games, beer pong, card games and stuff. Right now I've been playing GTA 5 with my buddy Harley, from time to time online. It's kind of fun. Or Call of Duty Ghosts. That's cool too. I try to stay busy, and I entertainment with whatever way I can. My writing process is very different from the way that probably the rest of the guys in the band operate, and definitely almost exactly opposite from the way Watson writes. He uses kind of a flow chart and brainstorms that way. The way I write is kind of I'll just have an epiphany, and ironically I wrote a song called that based on that. Just one day I had just boom, it all made sense. And that's kind of how I write lyrics. They just come as they are, and I'll put them down on paper, and when the thought stops, I'll skip a line or two and then start the next thing, and I'll go back afterwards and figure out what goes together and what I was trying to say, and then put it together into something that makes sense. Whereas Steve kind of does all of that work first and then writes it as is from all those little ideas. So music, it's very similar. I'll have an idea, a riff in my head, I'll be at work or something, and I'll just have to put it down on something so I remember it. And they just kind of come as they come to me. I'm just oh, that's great, Favorite booze. As you can see here, I'm drinking a Great Lakes Dortmunder. This is one of my favorites. Not my quintessential favorite, but it is definitely up there. I have a very wide selection and taste of beer, from domestics to imports. For booze, I would say it's a close race, but I'm Nashville, Tennessee born and raised, so Tennessee number 7. You can see I enjoy some Jack Daniels. Although Jay has recently discovered this phenomenal whiskey here called Rogue Dead Guy Whiskey, which I highly suggest you check out. So I definitely prefer whiskey over any other booze, but I'm not going to turn down a shot. I also like Patron, tequila, or Don Julio, but you got to keep it classy. Don't give me any cheap stuff. Put your beer in a glass. Dislikes. There's not a lot of things that aggravate me or piss me off or get me upset. And one thing that really does bother me is people that are fake users, people that just selfish and use other people for their own gain, never put anything back in, just shitty people that are ignorant and selfish and don't give a shit about anybody else but themselves. I think that's unacceptable, and this world's too big and life's too short to think that you're the only one that matters. So. My favorite foods, well, I am Italian, so I enjoy the lot of that cuisine, pastas, breads, pizza, all that stuff is just phenomenal. I do find myself quite frequently, as of late, getting into sushi. There's a lot of things that, by themselves, I would probably never eat. I don't care for cucumber. I don't care for avocado, seaweed. A lot of stuff that is in most of that cuisine. I don't care for it, but mixed with the right proportions, with the right fish and stuff, I was amazed, and I'm addicted now. So we go quite often. Wow. Song titles and origins of Camp Fit. Let's just start down the line. Okay, so we got Redemption. Redemption I wrote at a very strange time. I was really unhappy with myself, with my relationship, with my job, with just everything that had been going on for quite a while, and I couldn't figure out why things were going the way they were, and kind of realized that it was my own fault. I did or didn't do this or that which led to this, and that's why I am where I am. So I was like, all this stuff that happens in the world every day, and people are so quick to judge and blame somebody else, and it's like, you know what? You are just as responsible as everyone else here. And that's what the chorus, the beginning of the song, chorus, we are the ones who you've always known could save the world, because we have the power to change the world if we can look to ourselves and actually see that we are responsible for our own lives, our own destiny. Then you can make things happen. You can make the changes necessary. But until you admit the fact that you are in charge of your own life, you are responsible for the things that happen, because if you don't do anything, that's just like doing the wrong things. So that's kind of where Redemption came about. Let's see. Do you want just the rest of my songs?
All of them.
All of them?
You got plenty of time.
Alright, well, I know, let's see. I'll just do another one of my songs now. Like Paralysis.
Love it.
Yeah, you're going to love this one. Alright, so Paralysis is a culmination of 6.5 years of a bad relationship, just band drama, like personal crisis almost, where it was fueled by just lots and lots of booze, moonshine, in particular the one day where I actually had an episode and just kind of lost it. And that was a day that song, I had actually written the song, and it made more sense 6 months, 8 months later than it did when I wrote it. It was really funny, because going back and looking at my lyrics now, you can feel where I was when I wrote the stuff. I remember sitting in the old studio, and the band was in the other room, jamming the song over and over and over again, so that I could finish writing the lyrics, because at the time we didn't have a singer besides myself, and it was just, there's a lot of personal stuff in that song, but it's also very metaphorical too. Let's see, what else we got? New Paradigm is very funny. It's actually a song that Watson wrote about me Right under my nose the entire time. About me and my relationship that I was in, and how it was adversely affecting my personal life as well as the professional life with my job and with the band and stuff. And it was really funny for that to come to fruition when he told me that, oh, you I thought you knew. I'm like, no. Yeah. Just, trying to think of the other songs I wrote. Portrait. That's a song we're kind of vamping the lyrics. They're not quite finished the way they should be, but that's one of those songs. I think I wrote it about Mike. I think I wrote about Kami when he bailed out on us again. Only this time it was instead of girl drama, it was gambling and booze. And, it's like I can't sleep at night sometimes. I've been lying awake thinking about the same old shit I've heard you say before, and it makes me sick. Because it's like the exact same story, just a little bit different plot, different variables, but the same thing happened just like it did before, and it's hard, Unglued is a song that we kind of have to finish writing. We haven't really recorded or anything yet. It's basically just something that I wrote by myself around the same time as the lyrics to Portrait, and it was like, that one was actually about our old bass player, because of just the way that it had split up, and it was just kind of dark, and there's a lot of grudge there, and that song is like, basically, I don't hate you, I blame myself for the way that things happen, and I know you still hate yourself because what you did, is basically how the lyrics kind of add up, and it's so a lot of the stuff is very personal for me, lyrically and musically. Sometimes I'll have a more metaphorical kind of view or like a fictional story, but there's always at least one piece of the song that is very personal in my life and everybody else that's involved in the band. Influences from my childhood. A huge influence musically, especially for me, was my own dad. Now I remember I had to have been maybe 7, watching him sit and play acoustic guitar and sing all these old songs, Bread, Doobie